presenting you the history of America. Chapter 1. Columbus and the Dawn of American History. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer funded by the Spanish crown, set sail across the vast Atlantic Ocean. He was searching for a westward route to Asia. Instead, he stumbled upon a new world, the Americas. This momentous discovery marked a turning point in history. It opened up an entire hemisphere to European exploration, colonization, and conquest. Columbus's voyages had a profound impact on the course of world events. They triggered an age of exploration and colonization. European powers, eager to exploit the riches of the New World, began establishing colonies in North and South America. They brought with them their languages, cultures, and religions, forever changing the landscape of the Americas. The arrival of Europeans also had devastating consequences for the indigenous populations of the Americas. They had no immunity to European diseases like smallpox and measles. Millions died from disease, warfare, and enslavement. The clash of cultures and the displacement of native populations continue to shape the Americas to this day. The discovery of America was a pivotal moment in human history. It marked the beginning of a new era. It was a time of exploration, colonization, and cultural exchange. It also marked a period of conflict, disease, and displacement for the indigenous peoples of the New World. The legacy of Columbus and the impact of his voyages continue to be debated and analyzed today. Chapter 2. Establishing the 13 Colonies. The 17th century saw the establishment of the 13 colonies along the eastern coast of North America. These colonies were the foundation of what would eventually become the United States. The process of establishing these colonies was complex and fraught with challenges, but it was also a time of great opportunity and growth. These colonies were primarily settled by the British, who were seeking new opportunities and resources. The journey across the Atlantic was perilous, but the promise of land and prosperity drove many to take the risk. Each colony developed its own unique character and identity, shaped by factors like geography, economics, and religious beliefs. The diversity among the colonies was a reflection of the varied backgrounds and aspirations of the settlers. The New England colonies, including Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, were primarily settled by Puritans seeking religious freedom. These settlers were driven by a desire to create a society based on their religious principles. They valued education, self-governance, and a strong work ethic. The Puritans established schools and churches, and their communities were tightly knit and focused on mutual support. The middle colonies, including New York, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, were more diverse. These colonies became known for their religious tolerance and economic opportunities. They attracted settlers from various European countries, leading to a melting pot of cultures and religions. This diversity contributed to a rich cultural tapestry and a variety of social and economic practices. The southern colonies, including Virginia, Maryland, and the Carolinas, developed an economy based on agriculture. The fertile land and favorable climate made these colonies ideal for farming. This relied heavily on enslaved African labor. The use of enslaved labor became a central and tragic part of the southern economy, shaping the social and economic structures of these colonies. Life in the colonies was often challenging. Settlers had to contend with harsh weather conditions, limited resources, and the constant threat of disease. Settlers faced harsh weather conditions, conflicts with Native Americans, and political instability. These challenges required resilience and adaptability. However, they persevered, building communities and establishing institutions that laid the foundation for a new nation. The sense of community and shared purpose helped them overcome many obstacles. The colonies developed their own forms of self-government. Town meetings and colonial assemblies became important venues for discussing and deciding on local issues. They fostered a spirit of independence that would eventually lead to revolution. The desire for self-determination and resistance to British control grew stronger over time. The establishment of the 13 colonies marked the beginning of a new chapter in American history. It was a period of exploration, settlement, and the laying of the groundwork for future growth. It was a time of exploration, settlement, and the formation of distinct regional identities. Each region developed its own way of life, influenced by the settlers' origins and the local environment. As the colonies grew in population and economic power, so too did their desire for autonomy and self-determination, setting the stage for the American Revolution. The seeds of independence were sown during this formative period, leading to the birth of a new nation. Chapter 3: Declaring Independence and Fighting for Freedom. By the mid-18th century, tensions between Great Britain and its American colonies were reaching a boiling point. The colonies, which had enjoyed a degree of autonomy, were increasingly feeling the weight of British rule. The imposition of new taxes and laws without representation in the British Parliament was seen as a direct affront to their rights and freedoms. The British government's attempts to exert greater control over the colonies through taxes and restrictive laws were met with growing resistance. Acts such as the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts were particularly resented, leading to widespread protests and boycotts of British goods. The slogan, "No taxation without representation," became a rallying cry for the colonists. The colonists, fueled by Enlightenment ideals of self-governance and individual liberty, increasingly viewed British policies as tyrannical and unjust. Thinkers like John Locke and Montesquieu inspired the belief that government should be based on the consent of the governed and that individuals had natural rights that no government could take away. Events like the Boston Tea Party, a protest against British tea taxes, further escalated the conflict. On a cold December night in 1773, colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded British ships and dumped an entire shipment of tea into Boston Harbor, sending a clear message of defiance to the British Crown. In 1775, the first shots of the American Revolutionary War were fired at Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. These skirmishes marked the beginning of a full-scale war for independence as colonial militias faced off against the well-trained British troops. The colonists, led by George Washington and other founding fathers, declared their independence from Great Britain on July 4, 1776, with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This historic document, primarily authored by Thomas Jefferson, articulated the colonies' reasons for seeking independence and outlined their vision for a new nation based on equality and individual rights. The Revolutionary War was a bitter and costly struggle. The colonists faced numerous challenges, including shortages of supplies, harsh winters, and internal divisions. Yet their resolve to achieve independence never wavered. The outnumbered and outgunned Continental Army faced the might of the British Empire. Under the leadership of George Washington, they employed unconventional tactics and relied on the support of local militias to sustain their fight. Despite early setbacks, the colonists' determination, combined with crucial support from France, ultimately led to victory. The French provided not only military aid, but also financial support and naval power, which proved decisive in key battles. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris officially recognized American independence, marking the birth of a new nation. The treaty negotiations were complex, but the outcome was a testament to the perseverance and diplomacy of the American leaders. The American Revolution was a watershed moment in world history. It demonstrated that a determined people could overthrow a powerful empire and establish a government based on democratic principles. It inspired other nations to fight for their own freedom and challenge the established order of empires. The ideals of liberty and self-determination spread across the globe, influencing revolutions in France, Latin America, and beyond. The newly formed United States of America, founded on principles of liberty, equality, and self-government, embarked on an unprecedented experiment in democracy, inspiring hope for freedom and opportunity around the globe. This new nation would face many challenges, but its founding ideals would continue to inspire generations to come. Chapter 4: The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Early Republic. Following the Revolutionary War, the newly independent states faced the daunting task of forming a national government. The war had been long and grueling, and the colonies were eager to establish a system that would ensure their hard-won independence was preserved. However, the path to creating a unified nation was fraught with challenges and uncertainties. The Articles of Confederation, adopted in 1777, proved too weak to effectively govern the fledgling nation. The Articles created a loose confederation of sovereign states and a weak central government, leaving most of the power with the state governments. This lack of a strong central authority led to numerous problems, including difficulties in managing economic policies, foreign relations, and internal disputes. In 1787, delegates from the states convened in Philadelphia to address these challenges. The Constitutional Convention brought together some of the brightest minds of the time, including George Washington, James Madison, and Benjamin Franklin. Their goal was to create a new framework of government that would be strong enough to unite the states, yet flexible enough to adapt to future needs. The result of the Constitutional Convention was the United States Constitution, a groundbreaking document that established a system of government based on the principles of separation of powers, checks and balances, and federalism. This new constitution aimed to balance the power between the national and state governments, ensuring that no single entity could dominate the political landscape. The Constitution aimed to create a strong yet limited government, safeguarding individual liberties while promoting national unity. It was designed to be a living document, capable of evolving through amendments to meet the changing needs of the nation. This adaptability has allowed the Constitution to remain relevant for over 2 centuries. To address concerns about the potential for government overreach, the Bill of Rights, consisting of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was added in 1791. These amendments were crucial in gaining the support of those who feared that a strong central government might infringe upon individual freedoms. The Bill of Rights guarantees fundamental rights such as freedom of speech, religion, the press, the right to bear arms, and protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. These rights have become the bedrock of American democracy, ensuring that citizens are protected from abuses of power and can freely express their ideas and beliefs. The early years of the United States were marked by both challenges and triumphs. The new nation had to navigate its way through uncharted territory, establishing its identity and place in the world. This period was characterized by significant growth and development, as well as moments of intense conflict and debate. The young nation faced internal divisions, economic struggles, and threats from foreign powers. The lack of a stable economic system led to financial difficulties, while regional differences often resulted in political tensions. Additionally, the United States had to defend its sovereignty against European powers that were not entirely convinced of its viability as an independent nation. However, under the leadership of presidents like George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson, the United States established a stable government, expanded its territory westward, and asserted its place on the world stage. These early leaders played a crucial role in shaping the nation's policies and guiding it through its formative years. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights remain cornerstones of American democracy. They have provided a framework for governance that has endured through times of war, peace, prosperity, and hardship. Their principles continue to guide the nation and inspire its citizens. They serve as a testament to the enduring power of ideas like liberty, equality, and self-government, inspiring generations of Americans and people around the world to strive for a more just and equitable society. The legacy of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is a reminder of the importance of protecting and upholding the values that define a free and democratic society. So the history of USA has been explained. But don't forget to like and subscribe for more contents like this.